The film begins with a woman named Eva, who is independent and a successful writer. Her life is free-spirited, and she enjoys traveling, even attending a tomato-throwing festival in Spain. However, one night, she has unprotected sex with a man named Franklin, and Eva becomes pregnant unexpectedly. Although Eva isn't ready to be a mother, Franklin welcomes the news of their upcoming child. In short, their child, Kevin, is born. Eva feels like her freedom has been taken away, and she's increasingly unhappy with her life as a mother. She feels disconnected from Kevin, who is still young. Despite her struggles, Eva doesn't abandon her parental responsibilities. She continues to care for Kevin and tries to build a bond with him. However, Kevin appears to be a problematic child from a young age. Eva suspects that Kevin might have a hearing issue because he ignores everything she says, even invitations to play. When Eva plays with Kevin, she tries to talk to him and asks him to say "mommy," but Kevin responds flatly with no. Nevertheless, the doctor assures her that Kevin's hearing is fine and shows no signs of autism. Despite this, Kevin remains aloof towards Eva, his mother. As Kevin grows older, by the age of 6, he shows signs of intelligence, but he's also blunt, rough, manipulative, and for some reason, he harbors a strong dislike towards Eva. One day, due to work, Franklin asked Eva to move from New York. Their new home was spacious. While Franklin and Kevin were engrossed in playing games, Eva used her free time to decorate her personal room. She hung up maps and displayed souvenirs from the places she had visited. However, when Kevin came and saw the decorations, he immediately insulted Eva, calling them foolish. Eva responded gently, trying to understand Kevin's feelings and not letting his comments get to her. When the phone rang, Eva took the call from a friend in the living room. After finishing the call, she returned to her room and was shocked to find that Kevin had vandalized it with a water gun filled with colored ink. Eva was stressed and angry about Kevin's prank. After the incident, Franklin scolded Kevin. However, Kevin apologized to Franklin, claiming he did it because he wanted his mother's room to look special. Moreover, at his age, Kevin still had a habit that annoyed Eva, refusing to use the toilet and instead soiling his diapers, seemingly doing it intentionally to annoy Eva. Eva sometimes lost her temper and had even broken Kevin's arm in a moment of frustration when he threw something. The doctor suspected Eva of being an abusive parent. However, in the car, Eva apologized for her behavior. When they got home, Kevin told his father that he had fallen and hurt himself, leaving Eva shocked by Kevin's lie. That night, Eva wanted to discuss Kevin's behavior with Franklin, but they were interrupted when they heard Kevin using the toilet. Daily, Eva had to deal with Kevin's challenging behavior. Unfortunately, Kevin's psychopathic behavior since childhood was directed only at Eva. Kevin seemed to have chosen Eva as his target for mental torment. In contrast, with Franklin, Kevin was very sweet and adorable. As the mother, Eva spent more time with Kevin than Franklin did. Eva often told Franklin about Kevin's behavior, but Franklin didn't believe her and thought Kevin's mischief was normal. Franklin believed Eva was overreacting, especially since he knew Eva hadn't been ready to be a mother since she was pregnant. Children can indeed annoy their parents, but Eva realized that Kevin's behavior exceeded normal boundaries. Kevin is a highly problematic and malicious child when with Eva, but he becomes a normal child in front of Franklin, and he does this intentionally. In short, as Kevin grows into adolescence, Eva and Franklin have another child, a daughter named Celia. After Celia's arrival, the relationship between Eva and Kevin worsens. However, as a mother, Eva still tries to build a bond with Kevin, despite being a flawed mother. There was a time when Kevin was sick, and Eva gently helped and cared for him. For the first time, Kevin apologized to Eva for troubling her while she was cleaning up his vomit. He also enjoyed it when Eva read books to him. However, he was somewhat curt with Franklin, who had just come home from work. On the other hand, when Franklin bought him a bow and arrow toy, Kevin gave Eva a disapproving look and lavished praise on his father. Eva couldn't understand why Kevin could hate her so much, despite her efforts to be a good mother to him. In short, Kevin grows into adulthood. He still openly shows his hatred and hurts his mother whenever Franklin is not around. He also often speaks and jokes inappropriately to his little sister, Celia, which naturally makes Eva reprimand him. One day, while out with Celia, Eva sees Kevin standing in front of a bookstore, staring at a poster of her new book. When they get home, Eva mentions that she saw Kevin at the bookstore, but Kevin denies it. Eva then tries to bond with Kevin by suggesting they do something together, and Kevin agrees. On another day, they play mini golf. The activity is stiff, but at least Eva can bond with Kevin. After playing golf, they head home to change clothes because Eva suggests they go out for dinner. However, before leaving, Kevin eats a whole chicken by himself, despite knowing they were going to have dinner. At the restaurant, Kevin only orders bread and water and plays with his food. Like any dinner conversation, Eva asks about Kevin's day, but Kevin refuses to talk to her. Instead, he can guess what Eva will say as a parent to her child. Listening to this, Eva loses her appetite, feeling like Kevin is back to his psychopathic mode. On another day at home, Eva tries to enter Kevin's room, searching for what might be wrong with her son. She finds a CD labeled, "I Love You" on Kevin's desk. When she plays it on her laptop, it turns out to be a virus, and all her data is destroyed and lost. That night, Kevin already knows that his mother's computer is broken. Eva says she might deserve it for intruding on Kevin's room. In short, on Christmas Day, Franklin gives Kevin a gift, the latest bow and arrow set. Kevin is delighted to receive it, but it worries Eva. Meanwhile, Celia is given a hamster to take care of. However, a few days later, Celia loses her hamster, despite the cage always being closed. Kevin comments that Celia is foolish for letting her hamster escape. The next day, Eva comforts Celia by suggesting that the hamster might be living in the garden with its friends. While washing the breakfast dishes, Eva notices the sink is clogged. When she goes to clear the blockage, she is shocked to find Celia's hamster in the sink, dead in a gruesome state. Eva realizes that this must be Kevin's doing. To hide the smell of the dead hamster from Celia, Eva pours cleaning fluid down the sink. However, the fluid splashes onto Celia, causing her eyes to burn and requiring hospitalization. On another day at the dinner table, Eva asks Kevin to look after his sister, as Celia has lost an eye. Eva also asks Kevin to stop speaking harshly or making inappropriate jokes to Celia. However, Kevin remains unchanged, and his words and indifference infuriate Eva. Franklin doesn't help with the situation, and Eva has to care for Celia, who has lost one of her eyes. As a result, Eva becomes protective of Celia, forbidding her from going with Kevin when he asks her to retrieve his arrow from the yard. One night, Eva and Franklin discuss Kevin. Eva sees Kevin as a malevolent figure, while Franklin views him as an ideal boy. They are exhausted from arguing and decide to get a divorce. However, they are shocked to discover that Kevin has been listening to their conversation from upstairs. Kevin realizes that he is the subject of his parents' discussion. One day, Eva receives a heavy package that Kevin purchased. It contains high-quality bike locks. Kevin says he got a good deal online and plans to resell them at school. Franklin is proud of his son's entrepreneurial thinking. The next morning, Kevin wakes up early and gets ready for school. Eva mentions that since Kevin's 16th birthday is coming up, she wants to take the whole family out. However, Kevin declines, saying he might have other commitments. Eva leaves for work early, while Franklin and Celia decide to play in the yard. In short, Kevin arrives at school and locks the door with the bike lock he bought. He then assembles the bow and arrow he received as a gift. At the right moment, he starts shooting arrows at his classmates, causing chaos and panic. The tragedy shocks the school community. Eva, who is at her office, is informed about the incident and immediately leaves for Kevin's school. Unfortunately, Franklin can't be reached. Eva is naturally worried about what might have happened to her son. When she arrives at the school, she's shocked to see the crowd, police, and firefighters breaking the seal on the door. Eva recognizes the lock, and when the door is opened, Kevin emerges with a smug expression, looking directly at Eva with a piercing gaze. People are shouting, cursing, and condemning Kevin for his actions. Eva is horrified by the sight of the victims with arrows stuck in their bodies. Overwhelmed, Eva can't bear to look and decides to go home. When Eva arrives home, she finds the house in darkness. It turns out that Franklin and Celia have also been killed by Kevin and died in the morning. Kevin has committed a massive massacre that day, and Eva is left traumatized. After the trial, Kevin is sentenced to prison for several years. Eva leaves the house and moves to a small one to live alone. However, despite not being the cause of it all, Eva faces social sanctions from the community. Since Kevin was a minor, the community automatically blames Eva as his parent. Eva often receives punishment from the community, such as her house and car being vandalized with red paint by unknown individuals. Additionally, she constantly receives cynical looks from her neighbors. Ostracized by the community and avoiding crowds, Eva can no longer work as a writer. She tries to change her career and applies to a travel agency. Despite trying to change her appearance, people recognize her. Fortunately, the agency owner doesn't care about her past and hires her based on her computer skills. Outside, Eva is scolded and slapped by a mother who turns out to be one of the victim's parents. The slap leaves Eva's forehead bleeding. There's no day without anxiety for Eva. Meanwhile, Kevin is imprisoned, and as his only surviving family member, Eva often visits him. However, Kevin shows no change, and their visits are often silent. Traumatized by the incident, Eva avoids the victim's parents she knows out of fear and shame. Instead of defending herself, Eva seems to accept whatever they do to her, such as cleaning up the red paint on her house or buying the eggs that have been smashed in her shopping cart, or when neighborhood kids throw pumpkins at her house during Halloween. As a parent, Eva feels guilty about Kevin's behavior, thinking she might have been a bad mother, especially since she neglected Kevin when he was born. Perhaps Eva didn't give Kevin enough love. Still, there's no justification for Kevin's hatred and scapegoating of his mother. One day, during lunch break, Eva is confronted by a man in a wheelchair. Eva quickly leaves, but the man calls out to her again. It turns out the man is one of the students who was a victim, but fortunately, he doesn't blame Eva. Instead, he asks about Eva's well-being and wishes her strength in facing her current life. At her new workplace, Eva isn't welcomed by her co-workers, except for one person who helps her when she's struggling. However, when Eva starts to feel like her work environment is accepting her, she realizes she's wrong. The person who usually helps her insults her, calling her a promiscuous woman. Eva immediately realizes that no one in this city can accept her. The final straw is when Eva sees a TV broadcast of Kevin being interviewed by the media. Proudly, Kevin says he wants people to watch his actions on TV. Eva realizes she can't live in this city anymore. She cleans her house, removing the red paint stains, and prepares Kevin's clothes and room as if he's coming back. After packing, Eva visits her son in prison. Initially, there's no conversation between them, just staring at each other. It's been 2 years since Kevin was imprisoned, and 2 years of social sanctions for Eva. Eva asks about Kevin's life in prison. For the first time, Eva seems more at peace with herself. She asks Kevin why he did all this, and Kevin says he doesn't know. After hearing this, Eva leaves but hugs her son for the last time. She then leaves the prison, knowing she'll leave the city. The film ends without providing simple answers, but invites reflection on important issues like parental responsibility, human nature's complexity, and societal views on family tragedies. The film emphasizes effective communication, empathy, and awareness of early psychological signs. Through Eva and Kevin's story, we're reminded that even with the best efforts, not everything can be controlled. The film invites us to understand the complexity of human relationships and the importance of being aware of this to prevent similar tragedies in real life.